Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for the City of Brentwood to order. If you would please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, thanks everyone, and good evening again. We have a very full meeting for the first time in a while, so I appreciate that. Hopefully we won't have to grab extra chairs. Mr. Moran, if you could please call the roll.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Sherry Bilderbeck.
Here.
Mark Ravazza.
Here.
Matt Foreman.
Here.
Jeff Hunt. Paul Moran here. Hart Nelson.
Here.
Brian Nolan.
Here.
John Nurnberger.
Here.
John Ritter.
Here.
Lisa Shering.
Here.
Jack Shelton.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
And how. Next item of business is approval of the agenda. The agenda has been distributed. Any adjustments or changes to the agenda that are needed? Do we have the board of officers on here? Not. And I missed that as well.
I've got the long version, not summary version.
Take a look.
I don't see it on there.
Vote for officers. We nominated last time.
Yeah, and then we have to take nominations again this meeting and vote on them this meeting.
Do.
It's supposed to be June.
June. It is June. Yep.
Can we
All
amend
right.
the agenda?
I think we can amend the agenda with approval. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
To move the agenda to add the nomination and vote for officers as an item of new business, I believe that would be. Do you have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Moran. We just do voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right. Can we add, that will be added to the agenda under, do first item in new business. Is that appropriate, Ms. Kelly, Mr. O'Keefe? Yeah. Is it old business? Because we did do nominations last time as well. Doesn't matter. Then we're going to do it as first item of new business. At the end, there we go. Yeah. All right. Thank you for that catch. Next item of business. Do we have any, approval of the minutes? That was agenda. Approval of the minutes. The minutes for the May 8th meeting have been distributed. Are there any changes or adjustments made to the minutes? Any opposition to approval by acclamation? Seeing none, the minutes are approved. Next item of business is citizen comments. This is for citizens wishing to address the commission on items not on our agenda this evening. Do we have any citizens wishing to address the commission, either online or here? I'll wait a sec to see if there's anyone online. Looks like not. Moving on, first item of old business is P&Z 2403. This is the comprehensive sign plan for 1234 Hanley Industrial Court. We did also have site plan subcommittee on this and can give a report out, but we'll turn it over to staff report, I think, first, Ms. Kelly, if we could. Actually, is the applicant here on this evening? My apologies.
I don't think he's here.
All right. We did have a good conversation, so we'll turn over to staff report.
Following the last Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the item was referred to the Site Plan Subcommittee. The Site Plan Subcommittee did find that all of the background on all of the signage shall be black or dark bronze, whichever you prefer. They can utilize the entire sign band or fascia for their tenant space over the main entrance. Should they have additional fascia tenant space, they can carry a minor element like a logo similar to the Force performance that was discussed to identify the entire length of their space, but they did not want to have the full signage on each individual, on all of it. So it can include a striping, some other decorative element, or a minor logo, that kind of thing. They agreed to remove this sign from the south elevation, and they were not showing one on the north elevation. And they have not proposed any ground sign. So I included that as all of that as a condition of the approval. for y'all to review. If any of the members who were there wish to add anything.
I will turn over. Thank you, Ms. Kelly. So Mr. Favaza and Mr. Ritter, who moved on me, there we go, were there as well. Anything that you wish to add? I think that summarizes it very well. But the other thing I will put forward is I believe that this provides the consistent look that I think that the commission had talked about, with still allowing some flexibility and recognizing the fact that some of the tenants of the facility, of the building, have more than one space. And so there is a larger kind of frontage that they have. So that's what we came up with, and I believe the applicant was amenable to those changes.
He was not able to provide a revised sign plan to address those, so I tried to draft it as conditions to the original submittal. Yeah.
Any further questions from members of the commission on this? Ms. Bilderback?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say I couldn't be there because I was out of town, and I think this is a great solution. I knew that we would be able to come up with something that would walk that line between the different things and the needs and wanting it to look good and dealing with the existing situation while setting an appropriate precedent and all that. So kudos. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bilderback. Anyone else from the commission? Any members of the public wishing to address the commission on this item? Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend approval to the Board of Aldermen of this application with the 5 conditions that are listed in the June 12th, 2024 report on page 3 of 6.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second
by Mr. Nurnberger. Roll call vote, please.
Sherry Bilderback,
Yes.
Mark Favaza,
Yes.
Matt Foreman,
Yes.
Jeff Hunt,
Yes.
Paul Moran, yeah. John Nurnberger. Yes. Brian Nolan. Yes. John Ritter,
Yes.
Sharing,
Yes.
Jack Shelton.
Yes.
That's unanimous, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Moran. I believe I heard, which we did add to item of new business for the nomination elections, but I also believe that there might have been a mention that we have a lot of folks with us this evening who may not be as interested in that part of the meeting, so we will save that towards the end. And we'll move on to, if that's all right, any objections? Thank you. Moving on to the next item of new business is PZ, or Planning and Zoning 2408. This is facade and parking lot improvements at 8031 Litzinger Road for Carbonland Global, Inc. I believe that the applicant has asked that we carry this over and table this to the July Planning and Zoning meeting. Is that correct?
Correct. They have a pending application before the Board of Adjustment
yeah.
on June 27th, so I've recommended that we hold this off until after that so we can incorporate any changes necessary.
A motion to table. A table is appropriate, I believe. We have a motion to table. Or to carry it over.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hunt, I think. Yes. Or, sorry. And do I have a second?
Yes.
Second by Mr. Nurnberger. All in favor? We need a voice vote on this. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Next item of business is P&Z 2409, amendment to ordinance numbers 4355 and 4434, to remove the condition that the conditional use permit shall expire and be void upon any discernible sale of the business or assets for watering bowl conditional use permit at 2615 South Hanley Road. Is the petitioner here with us this evening? Please come forward. If you could, state your name and your address for the record. And
Hello,
just tell us a little
my
bit
name
about
is
this.
Jeremy King. I am the owner and founder of the Watering Bowl located at 2615 South Hanley Road. We're here asking for an amendment to our existing conditional use permit. We've operated a doggy daycare and boarding facility at 2615 South Hanley Road for almost 12 years now. It'll be 12 years next month. The original language of that conditional use permit included a line item that stated that the conditional use permit itself would become null and void if there were any discernible sale. And additionally, that conditional use permit is issued in my personal name rather than in the name of the business. So we are just asking to amend that to get moved into the name of the business and remove that particular contingency.
Thank you, Mr. King. Staff report, please. You're welcome to have a seat. If we have any questions for you,
Right on.
ask you to come back
Thank
up.
you.
Thank you.
So, as the applicant has indicated, this was originally approved in 2013 with ordinance number 4355 that included that condition upon the sale that the CUP is null and void. This CUP was then amended in 2014. I'm sorry, it was approved initially in 2012. It was amended in 2013, sorry, with ordinance 4434 regarding the installation of the fence and sound barriers due to the noise from the barking dogs. So none of the other conditions would be affected by this change. We did reach out because Hanley Road is controlled by St. Louis County. We did reach out to them. They have some future improvements and made some recommendations. However, this tenant is just leasing an existing building. He has indicated that he shared those changes with the property owner, but I have not included them as a condition with this tenant at this time, but wanted to document that for any future redevelopment of that area. So,
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. I believe that this is, I know that Ms. Bilderback, with her lengthy service on the Planning and Zoning Commission, probably Mr. Nurnberger as well, has some experience with cups that are this strictly limited. I do not. I do not recall one where we have a individual owner, or operator, business owner named with a cup, but there probably are examples. I just don't recall any. Seems a little unusual. So, but again, we have some context in the staff report as well, so I appreciate that. Any questions from members of the commission, however, on this petition or this application? Mr. Nurnberger. Make sure your mic's on. Yep.
There was an issue with sound being broadcast to the neighbors up top the hill. Do you know of any complaints other than the original time that they were complaining? Was there any?
No, sir, there have not been any. And at that time, which has been more than
12
10 years ago,
exactly.
as I understood it at the time, it was a singular resident up there. We voluntarily put up the sound fence to be a good neighbor and do the right thing, and no, there's been no issue since.
All right, thank you very much. That's all I had.
You bet.
Thank you.
Ms. Bilderback.
Mr. Chairman, it's not really usual, like, it's usually the business. And the only thing I can think of, and the only things that I recall were the concerns about the residents at the time about the barking, and we had, and that, the only thing that I could think of would be, like, if there had been a decision that was made, and I don't remember discussing this at Planning and Zoning Commission, I think I would remember that, would be if they thought, oh, well, like, we trust this man to do what he says he's gonna do that's in the CUP, and we don't know about if he sold it to someone else. That would be the only thing that I could think of. And I guess my question would be, maybe that, twofold, maybe the applicant could shed a little bit more light on that, and also, Ms. Kelly, maybe you could talk about enforcement of, like, any, if this were to change to the business and the business was sold, enforcement of the conditions of the CUP against any future owner that might be in violation. So
I think, just to make sure I'm understanding, want to understand if this would be a like-for-like operation of the business, if there's any concerns about that. Is that correct summary?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, for the applicant in particular,
Right.
and then for Ms. Kelly
Enforcement.
about,
Yeah.
like, enforcement, yeah.
Thank you.
If the applicant maybe wants to answer first.
Sure. I guess, was I asked if I know why it was there in the first place, or are you asking? I'm not sure I understood exactly.
I'm kind of interested in who you're selling it to.
Gotcha.
And who they're going to be compared to you. I mean,
Sure.
if you have any memory other than what I do, I don't
Yeah.
remember talking about at the Planning Commission that we wanted it to be specific to you personally because of the potential for issues.
Sure.
Like, I don't
I
know
gotcha.
how that shook out, but.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember either. And it wasn't until we dug this thing back up that we became aware that the language
Right.
was in there. My assumption is, like 12 years ago, there weren't a lot of doggy daycare and boarding places who kind of operate like we do, and there certainly weren't any in Brentwood. And I think there were some reservations about the newness of it and the fact that we wanted to have dogs outside and this thing and that. I think there was certainly some trepidation. Maybe they felt okay about me, and I think to your point, they felt like, if I do this for a while and then sell it to, Randy Yehu from down the street and he doesn't operate it as well, then now we have a problem. I'll certainly let Whitney speak to the enforcement. As I understand it, everything else remains exactly the same, so they will be held to the same standard that we have been held to for 12 years. As far as who the group is, they're called Best Friends. They operate 40-something locations currently, including one inside of Disney World. They've been doing this for 30 years. It's a great group who really knows what they're doing. We put a lot of thought and consideration into this. We've been approached a lot over the years by groups like these guys, and we started this process in earnest back in September with a list of about 12 legitimate folks, and we whittled that list down from 12 to 2 without even talking financials with anybody. It was strictly about, how are you going to handle this? What are you going to do? What does this look like? How are you going to handle our people? Does the name stay intact? What does all this look like? From that, we got to 2, and then we got into financials, and then we landed on these guys. They've got a great reputation. You're not allowed to operate inside of Disney World without really having your T's crossed and your I's dotted. I think a reflection of the quality of who they are is the fact that, and what ultimately was probably the deciding factor for us, is that they offer an employee stock ownership plan. And so all of our employees who we are going to have a stake in our business and the larger business that they operate. So they'll now have stock at no cost to them. They get to come in with their service years with us as a result of that. And so we feel like the fact that they're offering that to their employees and it is how they operate, I think is a pretty good indicator of how they handle their business and how they value their folks as much as we do. And so, yeah, a lot of thought was put into choosing these guys, I guess is what I will say.
Awesome.
Sorry. Ms. Kelly?
So I will have our attorney address the enforceability of the CUP, but correct, as long as they're meeting all of the original conditions within the original CUP, then
The amendment
not
doesn't change.
violation
Yeah,
of that.
the amendment doesn't change it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you want to add anything further?
I mean, it's enforceable as to a successor, so.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. O'Keefe, Ms. Kelly. And thank you, Mr. King. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Did you have anything?
Just that's great, and that answers the only questions, and it's normal for it to be on the business and not the person, so. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Bildrack. Any other questions from members of the commission? Having heard, I'm sorry, please. Yep.
I just had a quick question. And I'm all in favor of this, but does the staff recommend us addressing any of the St. Louis County?
Not at this time, because he is just a tenant within, and there's a separate property owner. That would be up to the property owner. And he's been operating and is not making any changes to the building or the site. Once that comes into the future, if the site were to be redeveloped and that comes into play in the future, we would review that, any recommendation from St. Louis County.
But to Mr. Nolan's point, I believe that in the staff report, it notes that Mr. King is willing to carry those asks forward to the property owner.
Yeah.
But there's no condition of the approval. Is that correct?
Correct. I just included them in the staff report to document for any future
Yep.
questions, I guess.
Recognizing that we did have some community input last time, are there any members of the public wishing to address the commission on this issue? Sounds like you've been a good neighbor for 12 years then, so I appreciate that. Do I have a motion?
Oh, do we want to ask if anyone on Zoom?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, anyone online in the audience, sorry. We did have someone new? No?
If you're on Zoom and wish to speak, there is a raise your hand button at the bottom of the screen.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Seeing none, I believe. All right, do I have Mr. Nurnberger? I believe you
Yeah,
make a motion.
Making a motion that we approve the changes that were needed
The-
for this.
The amendment,
Yes,
okay, as
second.
proposed. Do you have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Moran. Roll call vote, please.
Kerry Bilderbeck,
Yes.
Mark Fazat,
Yes.
Matt Foreman. Yes. Jeff Hunt,
Yes.
Paul Moran, yeah. Brian Nolan. Yes. John Nurnberger,
Yes,
John Ritter. Yes. Lisa Shearing,
Yes.
Jack Shelton.
Yes.
Unanimous against you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Moran. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Your partnership in here in Brentwood and your business. Next item, Planning and Zoning 24010. This is conditional use permit for Activate Games within the tenant address of 8324 Eager Road. Is the applicant or the representative here this evening? Please, if you could step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Good morning. My name's Chase. Good afternoon. My name is Chase Torgerson. I work for Activate Games. We're currently requesting a CUP permit for our new location here in Brentwood.
Excellent.
Yep. Patrick Hagan with Arco Construction, representing Activate Games.
Tell us a little bit about your petition. What is Activate Games?
So Activate Games is kind of a world premiere active entertainment space. So we provide a kind of new and exciting way to bring, I guess you'd say, a gameplay to a group of 5. It's teamwork oriented, it's collaborative, it's social. Our goal is to allow teamwork and physical activity to combine in a really exciting, fun place to play. We're focused on, family and fun.
And this is going into, I believe it was previously the Lazy Boy space, is that
Yes,
where it
sir.
was?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yep.
And kind of where is construction at, and like what's the plans for opening, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so we're currently, obviously here today, requesting the permit. We have not moved anything past that. We do have an architectural plan set up, and we're currently awaiting permission from you all and then the Board of Aldermen to move forward.
And the expected opening, when exactly?
Expected opening would be sometime in December, assuming everything goes to plan.
Turn it over. Any questions from members of the commission? Oh, sorry, staff report. Gosh, hasn't been that long. Ms. Kelly.
So
You're welcome to sit down, but if we have questions, if you wouldn't mind coming back up so we can get it in the record.
as the applicants have indicated, they are a recreational use, which requires a conditional use permit in the Planned Development Overlay District. They are locating within the Meridian development. A rent roll was not provided to analyze the parking. However, our traffic engineer did not, due to the large-scale development, the multi-story garages that were part of the overall Meridian development, he did not feel a parking study was necessary. The applicants have indicated, they pre-register in groups, so they don't feel that there should be a parking issue in front of their tenant space because they're generally off hours versus the office during the day. Unless I have that wrong, they can correct me. So the landscaping, also the city's landscape architect did not feel a full review was necessary. They provided the original landscape plans that were approved as part of the Meridian development. He did note that there was some missing dead trees and some missing landscaping. So we have included a condition that that be provided or replaced. The property management have indicated they would be happy to do so. So, yeah. Okay. So, and that's all I have.
Right. Now that we're back in the right order, any member or any questions from members of the commission on this application? Bilderbeck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to make sure, on the signs, they do meet that comprehensive sign plan for the development?
Yes, the two signs that they showed do meet with the comprehensive sign plan for the entire development at this time. So that does not require an amendment to their sign plan.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Baza.
Yes, I was looking at your website today, and how many locations do you have? Just a little background, like the business, where you located, look like you in multiple states, or?
Yeah, we are, yeah. So we are, currently have 10 locations open and active. I'm working on another 6 by hopefully the end of the year. We are trying to be nationwide. We have locations both in here in America and in Canada as well, and are working on some internationals locations. So that kind of answer, is that enough?
Yeah, and what states?
Sure, sure. Yeah, so we are based in Lexington, Kentucky. So we have locations in Lexington, Louisville. Those are both obviously in Kentucky. We've got one in Alabama. We've got one in Georgia. And we've got one in the New York area. We've got one in Chicago. We've got 3 in Houston, one in Houston, 2 in Dallas, and a couple more coming. Yeah.
Thanks, Mr. Torgerson.
Thank you.
Foreman.
From looking at the existing building, you're coming in with opaque construction behind the vision glass. Your keynote calls out window film by tenant. So since we're changing this from an open vision glass to a film, I want to understand what's that looking like? Is that just going to be dark like a spandrel? How's it going to change the exterior appearance of the building?
Sure. Yeah, I can touch on that happily. So our concept requires darkness within our game space. So we'll have an open lobby that has very nice, open windows, but our game space requires darkness. So it'll be kind of two phases. We are going to go ahead and put a black film on the inside of the windows, and that's just so that we don't have a ton of light bleed in. We've got a bunch of sensors and things that require that. So what we try to do to mitigate some of the lack of light coming through is we like to put a lot of vinyl on the outside as well. So you'll see on some of our locations, we won't do entire windows, but we will do a lot of designs, things that kind of indicate where the front doors are, as well as just kind of indicate what our space is about. So a lot of pictures of people actively playing, or maybe some game spaces, things like that. And we typically get that approved by the landlord prior to us putting that in, as well as any permit process that needs to be done.
The application shows very clearly the signage.
Right.
If it were just the black window film on the back, it would simply make the windows that are there not transparent. But if we're going to graphics on the outside of that give images, I'm not sure how that fits with our sign discussions.
It would require another review for comp sign plan. Again, that's not in front of us today, it's just the cup.
Got it.
Am I summarizing that correctly, Mr. O'Keefe, Ms. Kelly? Well- Right. Just for your awareness, but that's not in front of us today. Foreman, anything else?
No, thank you.
Any other questions from the commission? Any members of the public wishing to ask questions about this application, online or otherwise? Do I have a motion? Ms. Bilderbeck.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend approval to the Board of Aldermen this application with the 5 conditions that are stated in the June 12th, 2024 report on page 8 of 10.
A motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sheldon. I'm sorry, Mr. Ritter, my apologies. All roll call vote, please.
Okay, Sherry Bilderbeck,
Yes.
Martha Vazza,
Yes.
Matt Foreman,
Yes.
Jeff Hunt. Paul Moran, yes. Brian Nolan. Yes. John Nurnberger. Yes. John Ritter.
Yes.
Lisa Sharing.
Yes.
Jack Shelton.
Yes.
Unanimous again, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moran. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thank
Look
you all.
forward to seeing this. All right. Next up, I believe we have some applications based on the changes in Manchester Road. P&Z 24011, comprehensive sign plan for AMCO at 2828 South Brentwood Boulevard. Is the applicant or their representative here this evening? Again, if you know the drill by now, probably, if you could please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, I'm John Simon with Simon Sign, 2729 St. Louis Avenue in St. Louis. We are the sign contractor for AMCO on South Brentwood. This was the site of the former Walters Floor & Car Service. They recently had their signage removed, including a tall pole sign, which was not in compliance, had been there for a very long time. And now AMCO is needing their new signage. So we are proposing a new sign plan, which includes a small wall sign, roughly the same location that Walters had their previous letter set, as well as a small monument sign in roughly the same location as the old pole sign.
Thank you, Mr. Simon. Staff report, please.
As the applicant has indicated, they had have relocated to this location. They took over the original CUP from Walters Foreign Car Service. The prior pole sign was removed as a requirement under our sign regulations with any change of property ownership. Due to the site constraints, they're looking to place the new sign at 22 square foot new monument sign that would be within 2 feet of the property, the sidewalk in front, where our code requires 10. They are also seeking a 24.8 square foot wall sign on the west elevation, where the maximum they would be allowed is 20 square feet. They are not proposing a wall sign on any of the other elevations, so we do see this as less signage for the property in total. The landscape plan, the city landscape architect found their drawing sufficient. He did have a concern with the sign possibly blocking visibility from those entering and exiting the property. Hold on, let me get to that. And he provided this drawing, this picture here in your staff report. The applicants provided an approach study to possibly address that concern, but if you have any other questions regarding that, I would encourage you to discuss that with the applicant. And that is all I have.
And to make sure I'm understanding correctly, Ms. Kelly, the concern was about blocking view on the property itself, not from the, what road, what is that side road there? The
East Pendleton.
Pendleton, yeah. It wasn't a concern for people trying to come on to Manchester from Pendleton.
He didn't mention that. I had prior discussions about that, but not sure if it.
Okay. Thank you. Questions from members of the commission? Oh, good. Yep. Bilderback.
I just have a lot of questions. I'm just kidding.
Sure.
But on the approach study, could you explain that a little bit? Because one of the things that, and maybe I'm just going to make a joke right now. I don't mean this seriously. I'm short. Like, I like to be able to see around signs when I pull out of someplace. So can you walk us through that just briefly?
Sure, so obviously anytime you're putting a ground sign in, especially with the setback issue, you're concerned about visibility of traffic coming in and out, especially off the side streets. Obviously, the northbound traffic on Brentwood, that wouldn't be an issue. But coming off that side street, you want to be able to see making a right or a left-hand turn. Obviously, left-hand turn wouldn't matter, but making a right-hand turn wouldn't be an issue. Now, in this case, hopefully the photos can show you from what you see there. There shouldn't be any issues at all. One, the sign is only 5 foot overall height, so most vehicles they're going to be positioned, your sight line is going to be above that. But also it's inset, the location where it is. It's not directly on the corner where the former pole sign was. You're kind of in the middle of the property, or at least closer to the center of the property. So you're set back from that side street quite a bit. Not to mention, the third point is all the landscaping there. Even if that sign wasn't there, the sign barely goes above those bushes and trees anyways.
And Mr. Simon, is there an intent, and I don't believe I saw that in the staff report or the thing, to remove any of that landscaping, or is that all going to stay in?
2 bushes are, yeah, it is called out on the
Okay, there
landscape
we
plan.
go.
2 bushes are being removed, but the trees are remaining.
Okay.
So everything in green is remaining.
And in a way, like, the other thing I was thinking about before, like, looking at the approach study was that, I mean, the bushes were there anyway. I mean, so
Yeah.
the difference between the sign and the bushes, like, isn't that much.
Right.
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Bilderback. Any other questions from members of the commission? Seeing none, any members of the public wishing to address the commission on this application? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Move to recommend approval of the comprehensive signage plan for the property at 2828 South Brentwood for AMCO as presented in the staff reports and drawings reviewed at this meeting.
I have a motion from Mr. Moran. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Mr. Favazza. Roll call vote, please.
Sherry Bilderbeck.
Yes.
Mark Favazza.
Yes.
Matt Foreman.
Yes.
Jeff Hunt. Paul Moran, yeah. Brian Nolan. John Nurnberger.
Yes.
John Ritter.
Yes.
Lisa Sharing.
Yes.
And Jack Shelton.
Yes.
It's unanimous, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moran. Thank you, Mr. Simon.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. We missed who seconded the motion.
Mr. Favazza.
Okay, thank you.
He's quiet sometimes. All right. Our next item of business is Planning and Zoning 24012. This is a comprehensive sign plan for Reineke Paint, Benjamin Moore at 8121 Manchester Road. Is the applicant or their representative here this evening? Please, come on up. And you really should know the drill by now.
Game show.
Come on down.
My name's Carl Reineke. I have the store at 8121 Manchester. We've been there close to 30 years. I just want to replace what you guys took down, or the county did.
The county, yes. We're not the county.
Yeah, that's all I'm looking for.
All right, could you describe a little bit about what you're going to put in there?
Sign's going to be on Paul with A1 sign, Yesco. The sign height's going to be 5 feet. And if you can see in the drawings, it's 72 inches wide. And there is room to see up and down Manchester Road. And we actually have a temporary sign there now. It's been there a year and a half, 2 years. And that thing's even taller, I think. And that's not caused any issues that we've been aware of, so.
Thank you, gentlemen. Staff report, please, Ms. Kelly. You're welcome to sit down. If we have any questions, please, if you don't mind coming to the mic so we can record it.
So this one's actually MoDOT versus
The
St.
county?
Louis County.
Yeah, there we go. It's just not us. That's what I know.
Right. So, yeah, so as we've seen a few of these, because MoDOT is now completed with the streetscape improvements, a lot of the non-conforming signs are coming back through. They did remove the prior pole sign that was at this location. It is, however, they cannot meet the 10-foot setback that is required. They are 6 feet from the property line, which is in the middle of the sidewalk. This is similar to the situation we had before, and 3 feet back from the sidewalk edge. So they've provided some perennial landscaping around the base. The landscape architect was fine with that. They are such a small landscape area, it does not need, there's no room for street trees. So we have not included that as a condition at this location. You can see this MoDOT improvement here. This is the image of the existing sign. The landscape architect did have a concern. He thought that maybe it was a little wide. The proposed sign was a little wider. The applicants have indicated that it's not wider. It's just a little shorter overall with the maximum height of 5 feet. So if you do have any other concerns regarding visibility, that is up to y'all. Yeah.
Kelly, this one may be more difficult to answer, but do you have any recollection of how the proposed sign compares to the one that I believe we considered or approved for Gene Dell Printing, which had some of the same limitations in terms of setback and the odd lawn that the county had, or excuse me, MoDOT had put in?
I remember.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
I just recall some similarities from what I'm looking at.
There is a lot of similarities. I remember similarities.
Oh.
I think they had a little more room in the back, so y'all did push it back a little further, but it still was within the 10 feet. Here, they are much more constricted and, yeah.
Any questions from members of the commission? Mr. Hunt, looks like.
Yeah, it looks like this is 6 feet edge to edge, is that right?
And I will ask that you come back to the podium just because this is streamed and recorded, so I'd appreciate it.
The new monument, yeah.
Yeah, new monument sign is 72 inches wide.
Is that, you know what the existing temporary sign is?
That's the same size that we did do
Okay.
for Gene Dell. We're pretty much trying to stay pretty much consistent with the sizes.
Any other questions? Mr. Foreman?
I'm sorry, can I just clarify? The drawings I had is showing that the distance, it's 15 inches wide facing. It's two facing, you can see it on the screen up there. Are you saying it's going to be skinnier? Like, is that what you're saying?
I believe that's the size of the sign.
Yeah, I thought you said it was narrower, like 2 inches. Okay. I'm sorry. I just wanted to clarify the sign. Yeah. Okay.
Foreman.
I think this is simply an annotation, the attachment permit drawings revised PDF. The first image in that attachment up at the top. I don't know if you get that.
Yeah, I think that was just poor.
That's facing horizontal. Initially, that's what we were thinking.
That's all I was
So
after.
and Carl, having his old sign, you wouldn't be able to see it coming up and down Manchester Road. You would only be able to glance at that way. So we really we bailed on that whole idea. We apologize for that.
That image just doesn't apply,
No,
and that's the only outlier I saw,
Correct.
so that's all I wanted to raise.
Architect's eye, Mr. Foreman. Bilderback.
Just because Mr. Hurt asked this question, and I don't think it was actually answered, at least I didn't understand it. The temporary sign right there, how wide is the temporary sign from edge to edge?
4 or 5 feet wide.
Okay, so
Saying it's 64 inches tall, so I think it's 4 or 5 feet wide.
so it's 4 or 5 feet wide, and the new one is 6 feet wide, just to make sure you understand. I'm not saying I have a problem with that, I just want to make sure. And this one also looks taller. Is the temporary sign taller or the same height?
Yes.
So the temporary sign,
Temporary sign is going to be taller than we know that the new sign's going to be 5 feet high.
right,
So it's either going to be it was the same size or it looks taller to me.
Yeah, I think that's just a little over 5 feet.
okay.
The old one. or
That's
the
what I thought.
temporary sign.
So, I mean, we're making it maybe a little shorter than the temporary sign and a little bit wider. But like you said, it's similar to what Gene Dell has. And Mr. Nernberger, I believe, is happy that the pole sign is gone.
exactly.
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Hunt, any follow-up?
No, I'm good.
Any other questions from the commission? Mr. Ritter.
Parking spot next to the sign? Park there.
There is a parking spot next to it.
My car's actually sitting next to it. My wonderful Toyota Camry is sitting right next to the PDF drawing. If you can see.
My only concern, is there any concern as far as car or vehicle striking the sign, being so close?
Moved it back as far as we could to try to get it within as far back as we could. We did leave a little bit of space. If you can look at on the drawing, I think I don't know if it's a foot or whatever, but I mean, obviously we'd love to center it, but
Thank you, Mr. Ritter. Any questions from members of the public for this application? Do I have a motion? Ms. Bilderback.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to recommend approval to the Board of Aldermen with one caveat that, as our architect friend on the Planning and Zoning Commission pointed out, that the drawing of it being horizontal to the street, that this image would not apply.
We have a motion. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Nernberger. Roll call vote, please.
Jerry Bilderbeck,
Yes.
Mark Favazza,
Yes.
Matt Foreman,
Yes.
Jeff Hunt,
Yes.
Brian, yes. Brian Nolan. John Nurnberger.
Yes.
John Ritter.
Yes.
Lisa Sharing.
Yes.
Jack Shelton.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you, Mr. Moran. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
I want to thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Our last item of new business, the nomination of officers.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oops, sorry.
I just,
Yep.
so these will all go to the
Yes.
Board of Aldermen on July 15th meeting.
Let the record state that these recommendations will go to the Board of Aldermen on July 15th. Thank you. All right. I had them open. There we go. Recalling the minutes from our last meeting where we had nomination of officers. The nomination of officers, Ms. Bilderbeck nominated me for chair. I nominated Mr. Favazza for vice chair. Ms. Bilderbeck nominated Mr. Moran for secretary. This is the time we will take additional nominations for chair. Are there any nominations? Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Seeing none. Any other nominations for secretary? Seeing none. We do need to vote, but we don't need to have then a secret vote, I believe, which we have done since there aren't others. And so actually, I think it's a little odd precedent to call a vote for my own office. Mr. O'Keefe, what do you think? Is that something the vice chair should do, or is it me? All right, it's me.
Can we do it by acclamation? Or
Oh, I think we need at least a voice vote. How about that? All right, so first of all, we need a motion, I think, right? Yeah. Ms. Bilderbeck.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the slate of officers as read earlier.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Avaza. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. I love the slate of officers move, Ms. Bilderbeck. Well done. All right, that ends our old and new business. Aldermanic report, seeing no alderman. Director's report, please. When is, it is July 10th. It's, yeah, yep. Ms. Bilderbeck.
As I said, I think it might have been 2 meetings ago, I can't make the July 10th meeting. Apologies.
Please do try to RSVP if you can. I know that it helps everyone, staff especially, make sure that we have a quorum. I want to thank everyone for moving quickly through a fairly full agenda. This is one of the longest we've had in a while, so I appreciate your attention to that. And I'm excited to hear that we have additional things coming up. It means that business is booming in Brentwood, and that's great to hear. So is there any other business for the commission? If not, oops.
Update on the south of Brentwood?
My knowledge is on that is limited. Ms. Bilderbeck may have more. I do know that the lawsuit that was pending has put a serious obstacle in the way of some redevelopment. But if there is another member of the commission, such as Ms. Bilderbeck, that may have more information, or staff.
I think we should defer to our attorney, Mr. Chairman, to answer the question.
Yeah, perhaps not fit for the commission since it's not business in front of us. We can have that conversation after the meeting. Is that appropriate, Mr. O'Keefe? That is an excellent answer as well. Thank you, Ms. Bilderbeck and Mr. O'Keefe. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Bilderbeck, second. We stand adjourned.